What if your constant worrying isn't a sign of care, but a symptom of weakness? Machiavelli would tell you this: the man who worries too much has already lost, because while he's trapped in fear of what might happen, the ruthless are busy making things happen. Today, we'll uncover why worrying kills your chances to win, and how the Machiavellian mind conquers uncertainty without mercy. In a world built on fear and illusion, most men destroy themselves long before their enemies do. They do not fall to swords, betrayal, or even bad luck. They fall to their own anxious thoughts. Niccolo Machiavelli, the mind behind The Prince, believed that fear is not to be avoided, but controlled. Worry, on the other hand, is chaos in disguise. It paralyzes kings and blinds leaders. This is the difference between the one who wins and the one who merely hopes to win. Worry is not just an emotion, it's a quiet surrender. It doesn't scream, it doesn't strike, it whispers. And before you even realize it, it has already won. Machiavelli would tell you that no fortress can protect a man who has already been conquered in his own mind. The moment you begin to obsess over what might go wrong, you've handed your enemy the first victory, without them even lifting a finger. When a prince hesitates, his rivals grow bold. They smell uncertainty the way a wolf smells blood. The scent of fear is power leaving your body. You think you're being careful, being thoughtful, being strategic. But what you're really doing is waiting for permission to act. And in the world Machiavelli understood, the world of power, politics, and human ambition, those who wait are devoured by those who move. A man consumed by worry begins to imagine threats that don't exist. He sees betrayal in loyalty, weakness in strength, chaos in opportunity. His mind becomes a battlefield, not of swords and shields, but of doubt and hesitation. And every time he doubts himself, he loses a piece of his will. He loses clarity. He loses timing. He loses control. Machiavelli believed that fortune, that unpredictable mistress, favors the bold, not the anxious, because fortune is attracted to movement, not stagnation. The warrior, trapped in the illusion of safety, becomes immobile. He builds walls around himself, walls of excuses, fears, and endless what-ifs. But those walls don't protect him, they imprison him. The prince who overthinks is like a general who studies the map while his army is already under attack. There is a moment, a single moment, between opportunity and regret. That's where the warrior dies and the conqueror rises. The warrior stands still, hoping for more information, more assurance, more time. The conqueror acts, knowing he will adjust as he goes. Machiavelli admired the one who dares to make imperfect moves rather than wait for perfect certainty. Because perfection is an illusion, and waiting for it is the surest path to defeat. Every hesitation invites an enemy closer. Every doubt creates space for manipulation. The man who worries too much reveals his weakness through hesitation. And in politics, in business, in life, hesitation is blood in the water. Others will sense it, they will test it. And once they know you can be made to doubt yourself, they no longer need to defeat you. They simply need to make you think you've already lost. Machiavelli taught that appearances are weapons. To look calm, to look confident, even when uncertainty rages inside, that is power. Because the world doesn't reward the anxious, it rewards the decisive. A man may be terrified inside, but if he acts with conviction, the world bends toward him. The warrior, on the other hand, wears his fear openly. He speaks of problems instead of plans. He seeks comfort instead of clarity. And every word he utters, every delay he justifies, tightens the noose of inaction around his own neck. To worry is to live in the future, in a world that hasn't even happened yet. But Machiavelli's prince understands that control exists only in the present. You command reality not by fearing what could go wrong, but by shaping what is happening now. The warrior prays for safety. The prince manufactures it. The warrior seeks peace of mind. The prince creates it through strategy. So every time you feel worry creeping in, remember, it's not protecting you, it's deceiving you. It's the voice of your enemies, disguised as your own. It tells you to wait, to think, to play it safe, all while the world moves on without you. And when the moment passes, you'll look back and realize that nothing destroyed your chances to win, except the war you lost inside your own mind. Uncertainty, the one thing every man fears but can never escape. It is the shadow that follows every decision, the fog that hides every outcome. But Machiavelli understood something most people never do. Uncertainty is not your enemy. It is a permanent part of existence. The real enemy is your weakness in the face of it. Every man wants control. He wants to know that his effort will pay off, that his plan will work, that tomorrow will reward his discipline. But the world, as Machiavelli saw it, belongs not to those who wait for control, but to those who thrive without it. Fortune, unpredictable and wild, doesn't bow to the anxious or the hesitant. It bends only to those who act despite the fog, those who know that hesitation is more dangerous than ignorance. When a prince demands certainty before he moves, he gives his rivals time to surround him. He believes he's being wise, cautious, measured. But wisdom, when delayed too long, becomes paralysis. The man who needs assurance before he strikes will never strike at all. Machiavelli would say, "Control is an illusion, but boldness is real." The warrior wants to see every outcome before choosing one. The strategist, the Machiavellian, accepts that no plan survives reality untouched. He steps into uncertainty knowing it's the only way forward, because what looks like chaos to most men is actually opportunity disguised as confusion. Uncertainty weeds out the weak, those who cannot decide, cannot risk, cannot move, and once they've fallen behind, the bold sweep past them with ease. The truth is, uncertainty doesn't destroy you. Your fear of it does. Your desire to have every answer before you begin, every guarantee before you risk, every sign before you move. That's what kills ambition. Machiavelli saw this weakness in rulers who hesitated, in generals who waited too long, in merchants who refused to take bold chances. They lost not because the world was cruel, but because they wanted it to be predictable. They forgot that power is seized in moments of chaos, not calm. A man who fears uncertainty lives in reaction, not creation. He becomes dependent on others to make the first move. He studies, he plans, he calculates endlessly, but in doing so he builds nothing. And soon he begins to envy those who act. The bold man's mistakes become lessons. The warrior's thoughts become prisons. Machiavelli's prince does not wait for the fog to clear. He moves through it with sharp eyes and a steady hand. He knows that clarity is a reward, not a prerequisite. He learns by doing, adjusts by observing, and dominates by deciding. The uncertain man, meanwhile, spends his life preparing for moments that never come. Weakness hides behind caution. It disguises itself as wisdom, humility, patience. But Machiavelli saw through that illusion. True wisdom is not waiting until you are certain. It is moving while others are frozen by doubt. Fortune smiles on the one who acts as if the world belongs to him, because, in many ways, it does. Every man must decide what role he plays in the theater of uncertainty. Some sit in the dark, whispering about what could go wrong. Others step onto the stage and start directing the scene. The first group calls the second reckless. but history remembers only the ones who acted. Uncertainty reveals character. It shows whether a man is built for power or built for safety. Those who panic in the unknown seek comfort. Those who remain calm under pressure build empires. The unknown tests your resolve, exposes your fragility, and demands courage when logic can't guide you. Machiavelli admired those who could navigate it, those who replaced fear with calculation, anxiety with preparation, and hesitation with movement. In the end, uncertainty doesn't break strong men, it forges them. It sharpens their instinct, hardens their will, and teaches them that life's outcomes belong to those who take command, not those who wait for permission to proceed. Machiavelli believed that fear is not the enemy of great men. Stagnation is. Fear can be shaped, directed, even used as fuel. But once it turns into endless thought, it becomes poison. You see, the mind is a master of creating stories that don't exist. The warrior, trapped in his imagination, rehearses failure long before it ever happens. He tells himself he's preparing, he's planning, he's analyzing, but he's actually building a cage made of thoughts. Every second he thinks instead of acts, the bars grow thicker. Action, on the other hand, shatters fear. Machiavelli compared fortune to a river, unpredictable, wild, often destructive. The man who stands on the bank worrying about when it will flood is the one who gets swept away. The man who builds a dam, who moves the earth, who takes action despite the rising water, he survives and he rules. Fear fades when the hands move, when the body commits, when the first step is taken. The moment you move, the illusion of danger begins to die. The truth Machiavelli understood is simple. Fear feeds on stillness. When you stop moving, it grows. When you act, it loses oxygen. The warrior prays for confidence. Before moving, the strategist moves to find confidence. Confidence is not a prerequisite, it's a result. It's earned through doing, through facing uncertainty and realizing that most fears were ghosts. A man who lives in thought will always be weaker than the man who lives in motion. The first waits for perfect timing, the second creates it. Machiavelli wrote that great rulers seize moments before they are fully formed. They don't wait for signs, they become the sign. They don't wait for opportunity, they force it into existence. Because thought alone is safe, and safety breeds weakness. The more you think about what could go wrong, the more power you give to the very thing you fear. The warrior thinks, what if I fail? The Machiavellian asks, what will I learn if I do? That difference defines the distance between paralysis and mastery. When you act, even if you stumble, you gain information. Real, tangible insight that no amount of thinking could ever give. But when you overthink, all you gain is exhaustion. Fear multiplies in silence. It thrives in waiting. Every time you delay action, your mind has more time to invent new possibilities, new dangers, new reasons to retreat. Machiavelli saw this in rulers who lost their thrones, not because of enemies, but because of hesitation. They sat in their chambers, drafting plans, while their rivals gathered armies. Their intelligence became their downfall because it was never paired with movement. The secret to power lies in rhythm. Think, then move, then think again. Never stay too long in one. Action brings clarity, it exposes truth, it shows you who you are and what you're capable of. The moment you move, fear is forced to keep up, and usually it can't. But if you wait for fear to leave before you act, you will wait forever. Machiavelli admired the men who learn through the strike, not the study. The men who failed publicly, adjusted privately, and returned stronger. Because fortune doesn't reward those who sit by the river, analyzing the current. It rewards those who dive in and learn to swim while the storm rages. A man in action commands the respect of others, even his enemies. The warrior commands only sympathy, and sympathy never builds empires. When you move, people feel your presence. When you hesitate, they sense your weakness. Fear is invisible, but its effects are not. The trembling hand, the uncertain tone, the constant delay, all signs that a man is lost in thought and not in control of his fate. To conquer fear, you must first learn to act while it's still inside you. The first strike silences the noise. The first move reveals how much of the fear was never real. Machiavelli would tell you, do not wait until you feel ready. Readiness is a lie. Power belongs to those who act before they are certain. Because only through action does a man realize how little there ever was to fear. Time, the most ruthless currency of all. It moves for no one, bends for no one, and waits for no one. Machiavelli understood this better than most. Power, fortune, love, loyalty, all can be regained, but time never returns once it's lost. And nothing wastes more of it than worry. Every moment spent doubting, overthinking, and fearing the unknown is a moment torn from your future. A man who worries too long will look back one day and realize that the battles he feared never came. But the years he wasted never came back either. Worry feels productive. It feels like thinking, like planning, like being responsible. But Machiavelli would call it what it truly is: disguised idleness. The warrior mistakes motion for progress, but in truth, he is standing still. He rewrites the same fears in his mind, repeats the same questions, and circles around the same thoughts. He convinces himself that he is preparing, but what he's really doing is delaying. And delay is death in slow motion. The world doesn't pause for your comfort. While you worry, others act. While you analyze, others execute. While you replay possible failures, others collect real victories. Machiavelli wrote that time is the ally of the bold and the destroyer of the hesitant. The warrior becomes a servant to time, while the strategist bends it to his advantage. Every decision delayed gives someone else the chance to take what was meant for you. Think of how many opportunities have already passed while you were thinking about them. How many words you didn't speak, how many doors you didn't knock on, how many chances you watched fade into the distance while convincing yourself that tomorrow would be a better day to act. Machiavelli would say, "The man who waits for the right time will wait until his death, because no moment ever feels perfect. The perfect moment is not found, it is made." Time has no mercy for the anxious. It does not reward the one who plans endlessly, nor the one who demands certainty. It rewards the mover, the one who dares, fails, and dares again. Because in movement, time becomes an ally. In hesitation, it becomes a thief. Every second spent worrying is stolen by those who use theirs with precision and purpose. The warrior lives in a mental storm, measuring possibilities while his rivals measure results. Machiavelli's prince never wastes time on what cannot be controlled. He acts, then adapts. He understands that worry does not prevent disaster. It only prevents momentum. Every moment of hesitation creates weakness, and weakness invites defeat. In the court of power, time respects only decisiveness. You cannot negotiate with it, charm it, or buy it back once it's gone. Those who rule time rule everything else. The warrior, however, becomes ruled by it. He wakes late in regret and sleeps restless in doubt. His mind replays what could have been, while his enemies build what is. Worry gives the illusion of control, but control belongs only to those who act. Machiavelli saw time as a weapon, one to strike with, not to wait on. Every ruler who fell from power, every general who lost a war, every man who failed to rise, all had one thing in common: they hesitated. They believed there would always be more time. But the truth is, every delay has a cost. The second you pause to question whether you should move forward, the moment is already gone. Time is not gentle. It does not care for your excuses or your fears. It only records what you did or didn't do. The warrior spends his life in mental rehearsals, while the Machiavellian writes his story in action. One dreams of possibilities, the other shapes reality. One asks, what if? The other declares now. Every time you choose worry over movement, you make a silent trade. You exchange a piece of your limited existence for nothing in return. And once that moment passes, there is no power, no prayer, no plan that can bring it back. Machiavelli would tell you that time is both your most loyal servant and your cruelest master. It will serve you faithfully only when you command it without fear. Power begins in the mind. Before it shows in the voice, the posture, or the decision, it starts with the thoughts that govern a man's inner world. Machiavelli understood this truth better than anyone. No man can command others if he cannot first command himself. A ruler may have armies, wealth, and alliances, but if his mind is consumed by worry, all those things crumble at the first sign of pressure. The man who doubts himself invites others to doubt him too. Worry weakens authority because it replaces decisiveness with hesitation. The worried leader consults too many voices, seeks too much reassurance, and fears making enemies. In doing so, he loses the one quality that makes a man worth following: certainty. Machiavelli warned that people would rather obey a strong liar than follow a trembling truth-teller. Why? Because power is perception, and the one who looks unsure already looks defeated. When a man's thoughts tremble, his words lose force. His commands sound like requests. His silence feels like confusion. People can sense it. They can feel the unease that lives behind his eyes. They might not say it, but they begin to test him. They delay obeying orders. They question his choices. They whisper behind his back. And slowly, he realizes that worry has already eroded his rule from within. Machiavelli believed that a leader must appear unshakable even when chaos surrounds him. The people do not need to see his fear. They need to see his control. Because leadership is theater as much as it is strategy. To rule, you must play the part of confidence until it becomes reality. But the warrior cannot play this part. His fear leaks through every gesture. His need for approval becomes visible. His mind, once sharp, becomes scattered. A worried mind cannot rule because it spends more time reacting than leading. Instead of shaping events, it becomes shaped by them. Instead of making decisions, it waits for permission. Machiavelli saw this in princes who hesitated during crises. They wanted to be liked, to be safe, to be certain. But power does not belong to the uncertain. It belongs to those who move first and think fast, to those who act so decisively that others begin to follow out of instinct, not logic. Worry also distorts judgment. It makes small problems look enormous, and big victories look temporary. The worrier focuses on what might go wrong, while the strategist studies how to make things go right. One is paralyzed by fear, the other is sharpened by it. Machiavelli would say that a ruler must be cold in mind, but burning in will. Detached from emotion yet driven by ambition, worry destroys that balance. It replaces clarity with noise and turns the mind into an enemy rather than an ally. The mind that worries cannot rule because it cannot inspire trust. People crave stability, They want to follow someone who seems to know the way even when no one truly does. A leader who radiates calm makes others feel safe. A leader who radiates anxiety infects his people with the same disease. Worry spreads faster than courage. The moment a ruler hesitates, fear multiplies in the hearts of those below him. Soon, doubt becomes culture, and uncertainty becomes law. Machiavelli's wisdom cuts through time. Strength is not about never feeling fear, it's about never showing it. The appearance of control is often more powerful than control itself. The prince must master the art of composure, even when the storm inside him rages. He must learn to conceal worry behind strategy, to transform fear into focus. Because once people sense uncertainty, loyalty begins to fracture. And when loyalty fractures, power bleeds. Those who rule understand that leadership is not just about commanding others, it's about mastering perception. The warrior exposes his weakness every time he seeks reassurance, every time he delays, every time he explains instead of commands. The calm ruler, however, creates silence that demands obedience. When he speaks, it's final. When he acts, it's deliberate. His composure becomes his weapon, and his confidence, even if feigned, becomes the foundation of his control. Machiavelli would tell you, a trembling mind can build nothing. A fearful man can inspire no one. The world bends to those who move with certainty, even if they walk through uncertainty itself. Because power does not belong to the one who knows everything. It belongs to the one who appears to. And worry, left unchecked, steals that appearance long before your enemies ever do. Machiavelli never told men to ignore fear. He told them to master it. Fear, in his world, was not a weakness. It was information. It was a signal that something mattered, that something was at stake. But where the ordinary man lets that fear freeze him, the Machiavellian turns it into calculation. He studies it, measures it, and uses it as fuel to act with precision. The difference between the warrior and the strategist is not that one feels fear and the other does not. It's that one serves it and the other commands it. Fear is natural. Even kings feel it. Generals feel it before battle. But paralysis, that is learned. It comes from believing fear must disappear before you move forward. It comes from misunderstanding its purpose. Machiavelli saw fear as a servant, not a master. When properly controlled, fear sharpens the senses, heightens awareness, and forces preparation. When uncontrolled, it blinds, weakens, and drains time. The warrior waits for courage to appear before taking the first step. The strategist steps forward and finds courage along the way. In The Prince, Machiavelli wrote that fortune is like a river, wild and dangerous, but navigable to those who prepare. Fear works the same way. If you build channels for it, if you turn it into calculation, it will power your movement. But if you stand still, staring at the water, it will swallow you whole. The warrior stands at the edge of his life's river, terrified of the current. The strategist builds a bridge. The mind that fears can still think clearly if trained to do so. Machiavelli would say that the key is discipline, not emotion, but structure. To ask questions like, what exactly am I afraid of? What can I control? What can I not? And how can I use this energy before it turns into hesitation? Fear contains raw energy, but only those who direct it transform it into momentum. The rest let it sit, and it hardens into anxiety. The great rulers Machiavelli admired, men like Cesare Borgia, were not fearless, they were deliberate. They anticipated betrayal, danger, and failure, but not to hide from them, to exploit them. They understood that fear warns you where others will break, and that knowledge becomes advantage. The Machiavellian mind translates every fear into data, every doubt into preparation. The warrior feels fear and retreats. The strategist feels fear and refines his plan. When fear controls you, it speaks in absolutes. You can't, you'll fail, it's too late. But when you take control, fear becomes specific. You might lose here. This person can betray you. That risk requires more strength. One form traps you, the other teaches you. Machiavelli's genius was in this separation, between the emotion and the lesson inside it. Most people only experience the emotion. The wise extract the lesson. Paralysis is what happens when you mistake awareness for danger. The warrior notices uncertainty and assumes it's a sign to stop, but the strategist sees it as a sign to move carefully, not to freeze. There is power in being cautious, but there is death in being still. Machiavelli knew that leaders who act in fear tend to survive, while those who refuse to act at all perish quietly. Fortune does not favor the fearless, it favors the prepared. Fear can be sculpted into strategy the way iron is shaped into a sword, but it requires heat, the willingness to face discomfort. The warrior avoids that heat, hoping peace will return on its own. The strategist steps into it, knowing that control comes only after confrontation. Machiavelli would say that fear is never the problem, it's the failure to interpret it correctly. To be Machiavellian is to see fear as a map, not a wall. It shows where you're vulnerable, what you must protect, and how others can be influenced. It reveals where strength is needed and where patience must be applied. When you let fear paralyze you, you hand that map to your enemy. But when you study it, you gain the upper hand before the battle even begins. The warrior hides from fear because he believes it will destroy him. The strategist looks it in the eye and turns it into foresight, because once fear is translated into understanding, it loses its power to stop you. And when others freeze under its weight, you move with precision, cold, calm, and calculated, while they tremble in confusion. Machiavelli would remind you, the goal is not to live without fear, but to command it so completely that it becomes your sharpest instrument of control. Machiavelli's path to victory isn't built on luck, emotions, or blind hope. It's built on control. Control of your thoughts, your actions, your image, and above all, your fear. The warrior wastes energy imagining failure. The strategist directs that energy toward power. The warrior reacts to emotion. The strategist shapes perception. The warrior waits for the perfect moment. The strategist creates it. Every battle in life, whether it's in politics, business, or your own mind, is won by the one who moves while others hesitate. Machiavelli's wisdom is not about cruelty or deception for their own sake. It's about clarity, the ability to see the world as it is, not as you wish it to be. Because when you stop wishing, you start calculating. When you stop fearing, you start planning. And when you stop seeking approval, you begin to command respect. Victory, in Machiavelli's sense, is not just the defeat of others. It's the mastery of self. The moment you stop letting fear dictate your pace, emotion cloud your vision, or kindness dilute your strength, you step into the realm of power. A realm where confidence is quiet, control is subtle, and every move has purpose. That is the Machiavellian way, not to destroy for pleasure, but to conquer with precision, to win not by chance, but by design.